Hi, I'm Veronica Johnson. Welcome to Baltimore Famous Media Expo. I'm a Google review analyst. I have 5.6 million views on Google. I'm a local guide for Baltimore City. I usually do my reviews on restaurants, businesses, and any places that I go into that I feel need to have some type of recognition for the wonderful service they provide. But today, I'm going to be speaking about a clip that I stumbled across on Instagram from Baltimore History Channel. Here's the clip. This is Baltimore History Channel, which has two other channels. I want to give credit to them because they actually bring out the charm in Baltimore City. You can also find information on here that relates to this particular interview. It says, what thoughts do you have about this interview? Well, I have my thoughts on the interview, and once we get finished watching the clip, I'm going to share my thoughts on the interview.
Big.
Your guys' story has a lot of the Wire's storylines in them, and you don't believe how organized it is. And actually, what's funny is we've had drug dealers from Baltimore on the show, and they're like, Baltimore didn't run like that. It was very turned down. There weren't a lot of murders. New York guys ran everything because Baltimore cats are bumpkins. Mm-hmm. They're hicks. New York guys would come down there, make all the money, and just get the f- out. But you guys really ran that the way organized, organized crime style.
I mean, yeah, we did to the best of our ability. But I think that the Wire was based a little after everybody turned on New York. There was a time where you could go from New York to DC or someplace else and everybody be in awe with a New York person. Mm-hmm. Now you go to somewhere else and you're already suspect. They ready to blow your head off. New York is not really welcomed a lot of places because they feel that we was arrogant and we going over there to take over and all that. I never really was on the out of town hustling, but I could relate to why people probably started feeling bad because you going over there to take their money, their chicks, mm-hmm. and then you trying to talk down on these people. Mm-hmm. How you think they're going to feel? So once they started realizing that they could do that on their own, mm-hmm. they started killing us.
Yeah.
Now that we watched that clip, the gentleman from the Baltimore History Channel asked questions as to how we feel about that clip and the information that was put into the interview. So I'm going to give you a little history of what I know about Baltimore, living here from 1960 on up to now. So first I want to address that this clip speaks about Baltimore versus The Wire. The Wire was a movie series of different types of court cases, street cases, police reports collaborated together to create a series of entertainment. So even though the material was true and factual, it was put together and pieced together for a storyline. So when people see that, they tend to say, well, did those things happen in Baltimore? Yes, they did, but it wasn't in the way that they chopped it and pieced it back together for entertainment. Number two, we also had The Corner. We also had We Own This City. They were also material that was put together for entertainment. Okay, so when you speak about organized crime, you can also go back to this channel and you can see a clip that the gentleman did on the Gotti family. And I'm going to just pull it up with my phone. It says that the organized crime from New York City was based on the Gambino family, which had an active crew in Maryland. And this crew was responsible for the organization of collecting money and settling disputes. This is what the organization was for here in Maryland and how they worked together with the city of Baltimore. It was New York, Virginia, DC, Baltimore, New Jersey, and the other few states that worked together in organized crime. I think that if you guys don't know what organized crime looked like, you might want to check out Bumpy Johnson, Goodfellas, Scarface, and The Godfather. They were organized crime that were a family. And it's a difference between family and street crime. So actually the interview should have went organized crime and gang activity, because Baltimore had a organized system that was set up as a family. They were not gang related activities that were going on in Baltimore City. But for some reason, somehow between the 80s and up until now, they merged in gang activity. So organized family crime and gangs with gang activity is two different things. So I'm going to go over what those are. Okay? If you want to know what the gang activity look like, watch the movie Carlito's Way. Because Carlito says it to the guy in the movie. He says, we don't snatch chains, we don't rob old ladies. That's gang activity. That's not organized crime. Organized crime was a family. Gang is just whoever can come in, whoever can get out. They call themselves a family, but their whole motive was totally different from the drug life. Okay. Here in Baltimore, you can look at the history. In fact, you can Google this history of some of the major drug dealers in Baltimore, and those that stayed off of the scene. They did not want to be put in the newspaper or on the news. They didn't want that. They wanted to remain off the scene. So we had Maurice, which they call Peanut King. We had Frank Matthews, Melvin, and Thomas Joe the Dancer. And there were some others that had organized family in Baltimore. What I've learned from my experience is that from 1978 to 1982, I was in a relationship. I think when I turned 16, I ran away and I moved in with my boyfriend, whose boyfriend was a kingpin drug dealer in Baltimore City. So I got a chance to see how they live, the inside of how they ran things. They did not run it according to gang activity laws or what they're doing in the street. I don't know what they're doing, but I can tell you that what this gentleman spoke in the video is not it. Baltimore, the reason why they called it Charm City was because they were able to sit down in Baltimore and speak with people from other cities and work with them so that they all can get the money. Their goals were not to overtake. I don't know when that system came in. That's not a part of the family system. It was they went home and took care of their family and their city, and they all had that one goal, was to take care of their family and take care of their city. If people came in Baltimore during the 70s to try to take over, they found them at Gwynn Falls Parkway in the park. I have a family member who worked for Recreation and Parks, who cleaned the parks, and they found a lot of bodies in those parks because those people came from North Carolina and other places thinking that they were going to spy, set up. And you have to understand, everybody who came in Baltimore, people knew it. If they came east side, west side, any side, they knew them tags. If they seen some different tags in the area, they got those tags ran. They had police equipment. They had scanners. They had all kinds of equipment where they can find out if that's a family member. They checked first before they ran them out of Baltimore. And if they kept coming back, they found them somewhere. So I don't understand that part. So another part that got me about the clip was people were fascinated to see New York people. I don't know when that took place because, like I said, the people in Baltimore had family in New York. They had family in New Jersey. They had family in D.C. They had family in Virginia. And they had family in North Carolina. So everybody knew who family was who. So I'm going to tell you this. When the guys who were the kingpins that I grew up on, I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to run this list down of what I saw, okay? This is Baltimore. This is Charm City. They encouraged us to stay in school. They did not get high. They counseled each other on family issues. They had dinner together. They took days off together. They made sure that child support was paid, all their baby mamas was taken care of. They made sure that none of them had parking tickets or any type of outstanding issues that would bring heat to what they were doing. They did not do business on Sundays. They did not tolerate gang activity or harm or danger children, women, those that were disabled, nor did they murder for anyone for no cause at all. So they weren't going out just shooting up people, killing people for no reason at all. That was not family activity. That's gang activity. That's something totally different that developed into what they call the drug culture or the drug life. Those that terrorized the neighborhood was found somewhere. You know, if it was a family member, they told them, get your family member. You know, they're doing things to other people who are in the family. They're hurting and harming them. So if the family member, you know, didn't get checked, if they didn't change their ways, if they didn't change their behavior, they were found somewhere. The drug dealers or kingpin that I grew up with, they paid for people, family members to go to college. They paid for block parties and contests. They had Afro Cleanup Block in Baltimore. It was the drug dealers that funded the Afro Cleanup Block. They would give the people and the women in the neighborhood the money to go out to buy those materials that they needed so that their neighborhood would be number one in the contest. And then they would bet on the side to see whose neighborhood won the contest. They funded church events. They would shut the streets down. They paid for the DJ. They paid for the food. They paid for funerals. They paid for commissary for family members who went to prison, and they took care of their children. They were organized. They had codes. They had principles. They had morals. They had rules. They were organized with a purpose. Some of them were in college, going to school to be lawyers. Some of them were going to school to work in the banking system so that they can set up an organized system where they can have a city within a city, where they own property and stores. A lot of them had stores, clothing stores, pool halls. They had clubs. They were the type of organized family that you wanted to be a part of, not this gang activity. They didn't tolerate gang activity. They ran those people off the streets. They ran them out of Baltimore. If they couldn't talk to them or try to get them to change their ways, they got rid of them, because that's not what they wanted in Baltimore. Baltimore was, even though they did what they did and it was not good, it was for a particular purpose and a particular reason. They tried to save the young people in Baltimore City. And they would say, hey, don't be like us. Don't do this. We got caught up in this, but we have a plan. They never wanted to be in it for the rest of their life. Their plan was to accumulate property, accumulate stores, and, you know, they had a vision for what they were doing. So I don't understand how this gentleman in this video, where he got his history and his information, the one that's doing the interview, calling Baltimore Hicks and whatever, I don't even know those terminologies where he got them from. And it was, it's really a disgrace to those, number one, who were kingpins at the time when Baltimore was organized, and they understood the codes, the values, the principles, the laws, and how they operated in true organized family crime, and not this gang activity that came in where everybody was getting high. And I think that rode in with the crack around in the 80s. That's when you begin to see the organization of crime go down as far as the value of it and their codes and their principles. Now this gang activity came in with the crack, and you see people just driving by, shooting people for no reason, killing women, killing children. You know, like Baltimore has really lost its way. And the way was, even though we had what we had going on in the streets, we were still Charm City. We were still Baltimore, and we still kept our neighborhoods intact. They paid people rent. They paid their gas and electric. They made sure people didn't get evicted. So they were organized drug dealers with a purpose. They were organized family with codes, principles, morals, and they took care of their neighborhood and they took care of their city. So that is my response to the video. And when you guys get a chance, go to the Baltimore History Channel and check out that channel. I want to say to the gentleman or whoever put that channel together, I love it. It really shows the community of Baltimore and how it really was from the beginning.
My name is Avon Bellamy. When I was on the streets hustling and doing things in Baltimore, they called me Lawrence Street Reds, Pennsylvania Avenue Reds. That was my title, Reds. I lived at 555 Lawrence Street. I don't know, the last time I was down there, it looked nothing like it looked when I grew up there. I hung on the avenue for a while. I was on the avenue from, I guess, about 14 years of age, which was 1955, until about 1964, 65, and that I had calmed down a little bit by then and was into some other things. Thank God for God is what I would have to say. Now, a lot of that stuff is going to be in this book. You know, this is a book that I recount some of the information in, and it's basically, you know, major parts of my life story. I'll put it that way. It's not all of my life story, because all of my life story is going to take in a whole bunch of people that some of them have litigious relatives, and I don't want to be in a position where somebody's trying to sue me for saying some things. I've already experienced that trying to happen to me. But anyway, this book, which, you know, tells major portions of that, is that would be a recounting of my life between those years and beyond. There are beyond stories in the book too.